All right, continuing on, we are now joined by Chris Busher, driver of the number 17 IT Savvy Ford for RFK Racing, and we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start over here on the right.
Hey, Chris, Doug Turnbull from WSU Radio and PRN. Just asked David this a moment ago, and everybody asked you this at the test back in January, but do you have any more insight as to what to expect between what you learned in the first week of January when you tested with just 3 cars to now? Have there been any sim runs or anything you've heard from the wheel force test or anything?
I would say the 3 of us that ran that test probably have maybe just a little bit more of an idea what to expect for the first few laps on track, but that'll go away really quickly. Ultimately, 3 cars at what is essentially a super speed, not a super, but a speedway, drafting type event. 3 cars isn't enough to get the true feel of it. So, I think we'll be ready when we roll off the truck, but I think we're going to learn very quickly as it keeps going. I know they've worked on the track, smoothed it out. We're going to be watching every session that's on track, including the trucks, Xfinity practices, races, trying to learn as much as possible, but we have a ton to figure out as we go through our short practice session today. We'll all be learning together, ultimately. Yeah, I mean, we've looked at some of the wheel force data, talked to some of those drivers since then. I don't know that it was a whole lot different. Sounds like the turn 2 bump, that was probably the bigger one for us, is still there. They worked on it, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty pronounced in our cars. And other than that, we're getting ready to figure out how fast it's going to go with a bigger group.
All right, we'll go over here to the left.
Steve Conley, the podium finish in PRN. Chris, I want to ask you a little bit about next week. Tyler Reddick had said when they raced at COTA last year, he said he was going down the backstretch and a guy was getting out of his car and never saw him. I'm wondering what you thought about that situation, racing that way, and what were your feelings basically having near zero visibility most of the race?
I hope we never do that again. Racing in the wet is one thing, and I think as an industry we pretty much accepted that was not the correct way to go about it, and I don't believe we will race in those circumstances again, ever again, and probably should have been taking more notes after the Xfinity race at the Roval, and then once we got to COTA there, it was just that was a rough one. So. Ultimately, I don't think anybody was complaining about the track being slick or trying to stay off paint or the pace being slow. Every complaint came down to visibility, and when you can't see, it's just flat out dangerous. And that was a very scary situation. Probably something that nobody expected. We obviously didn't, but. We don't want to have any sort of repeat there. The track is so large there too. It's just hard to get spotters even close enough. But when he talked about the roost from underneath a car, it was like being behind a top fuel drag boat. I mean, it was horrible. All you could see is a spray right in front of you, and the flashing red lights in the windows, they didn't do anything. You couldn't see them. They're not brake lights either, so. You had no clue where the corner was at. We were guessing the whole time, ultimately, and it's amazing that we didn't tear up more stuff. I know Kurt brought up the weather for next weekend. I know it's a long way out, but it looks like sunny and 80, 85. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about it when we come back, but it was definitely not something that we would ever want to try and duplicate again.
Additional questions for Chris? We'll go to Bob.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Since you might have a little bit more familiarity with the line around here in the Cup car, with the way you guys kind of sit lower in this car, is there going to be any difficulty seeing the white and red line?
I would say no, not for that part of it. Actually, I know David was just here, but he brought up a good point in talking about this, I guess a few weeks ago, talking about when we go speedway race, everybody's tucked up, you're right behind a car, and you're paying attention right out the windshield, but you're always looking ahead, especially at events like this where stuff happens in a hurry, and one mishap can wipe out a lot of race cars. in other races, David was saying, at Daytona, you can see the leaders. You can always see the leaders out the windshield. Well, the radius being so tight here with so much banking, you're not looking forward, you're looking up, which is where the corner would be for you. And he said you basically run out of vision. Like, you're probably not going to be able to see the leaders. So I think the worry is more from the design of the racetrack and the shape of everything. And it's nobody's fault. It's just different for speedway racing style that we're going to be trying to look further ahead to be able to see the front, but you might not necessarily be able to if you are mid-pack. Now, plan on being up front and not having to worry about that, but it's something as far as the line goes. I would say it's not really going to be an issue. The transition down the front straightaway is so aggressive. If you do get below it, you're going to know it really, really quickly as well. So I don't think that'll be something we'll be too worried about.
Any final questions? All right. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Easy enough. Thank you.